Hi, my name is Ann Coyle. I am the manager of perinatal bereavement programs at Virtua Health in Voorhees, New Jersey. And I'm here to talk to you today about what do I say? All of our fears of communicating with grieving families. So I hope you find this presentation helpful. And if you ever have any questions, you certainly could contact me anytime. So, why is perinatal loss so complicated? It's usually always sudden and unexpected. No one ever expects that kind of news when they find out they're pregnant, or any time after they found out they were pregnant. Some people may have the nerves of thinking there could be a miscarriage in the first 12 weeks, but a lot of them, once they get past that 12th week, think they are free and clear. And even, there are some even blindly naive people in that first 12 weeks that don't realize this could happen to them. Even the people who find out that their baby has a life-limiting condition and choose to carry for as long as they can in their pregnancy still have that sudden and unexpected diagnosis when they're given that initial diagnosis. So it's always out of the blue and unexpected. And also the way infant death is socially defined in our culture. We have come a long way in talking about pregnancy and infant loss, but we still have a long way to go. And it's very taboo to even bring up the topic. There are very few people who will talk about it. So the best description I ever heard of a perinatal loss, of a parent who experiences a perinatal loss, was from Cherokee Isle. I have to give her complete credit on this. She spoke at a conference we had a few years ago at our hospital, and she used this example, which I just thought, wow, that's exactly what these people look like when I speak to them. So you're driving down the highway on a bright and sunny, beautiful day, and life is going great. And then all of a sudden, you were T-boned by a tractor trailer. And all of a sudden, everybody starts throwing all of these questions at you. And at our conference, she divided up the room into 3 or 4 or 5 sections, and each section said something. One made an ambulance sound, rrr, rrr. The other one said, your baby died. Who do you want us to call? Somebody was saying, do you want to bury or cremate? Do you want pictures? Like, these are kind of all the things that come to them, and they feel like they're coming all at one time because time has no existence in their brain. And, people just keep asking them questions, and they have no idea how to answer any of these questions or make any decisions. So that's why we kind of go slow with them, and we repeat things, and we just take our time when we're communicating with them. So Wilkie and Limbo identified an attachment and bonding cycle in pregnancy. When parents choose to love and become attached to the baby, grief will occur with death. Seems like a no-brainer, but some people don't realize the amount of love that you have for the baby or the pregnancy is the amount of grief that you will have. So if someone attaches as soon as they get that stick, at whether it's 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and they lose that baby, even at 6 or 7 weeks, I've seen people devastated over that. And truly, we don't know what it took for them to get to that point. Maybe they thought this was their only chance. Maybe there was a lot of infertility involved. Maybe they thought they could never get pregnant. There's a lot of, factors that could be involved in this. So, people could grieve at any stage from conception through neonatal death, and beyond, and at any time. But the amount of weeks doesn't necessarily, match the amount of grief that we think they should have, sort of thing. So everybody deserves to have their grief at 100%, and that's how we treat them. So when you're dealing with a family, you want to examine yourself first. Nobody's ever prepared anyone, especially the parents, but the doctors, the nurses, any of the staff, we're not prepared for this. When it happens, oh, geez. As soon as it happens, everybody is upset and, feeling terrible for this family. And I need you to work through your own feelings, your values, and your questions about perinatal death and your role as a caregiver. What do you need to do? And we all have those days where we say, I'm just not up to this today. It's been a tough day already and I'm just not up to it. If you have a coworker that will take the assignment instead of you, that would be great. We always don't always have that. And as nurses and healthcare professionals, many times we suck it up and we do our job anyway. So, you want to just remember that, it's really not about us. It's all about them. So, everybody's thinking, oh no, where do I start? What do I say? Just kind of take a few deep breaths and ground yourself and remind yourself this is about them, and I'm going to do the best job for them and help them through this terrible time that they're going through as the best I can. So what may influence our interactions? Well, your own beliefs or feelings about it. Maybe they came in for a termination. Maybe, I don't know, a lot of different things, that can get in our way. Hopefully, our coworkers have caution making assignments and don't assign a pregnant nurse with, a lost family, or someone who just recently had a loss, whether you had a pregnancy loss or any kind of loss in your life, when maybe you lost your brother or your dad or whatever. If you're grieving, sometimes it's hard. That's kind of compounded grief. So, hopefully there's caution with assignments and not putting anyone in a bad place. You want to think about the parents' culture and ethnicity, obviously. And I don't expect everyone to know, because I certainly don't. I don't understand every culture and every ethnic background and religious, beliefs and whatnot about every person. And you could Google it. You could say, okay, what do, Buddhists do when a baby dies? Or what do the Jewish people do when a baby dies? Or is there any special rituals or whatnot? You know what? But the best part to go to, you can Google it, but not every Jewish person follows, maybe what they normally do. Maybe the last time they attended synagogue was their bar mitzvah. So the best place to go, right to the parents and ask them. And likely they may not know, but they know who to call. They can ask their parents. They can ask their spiritual advisor, whatever. They know usually who to call to find out. And we can just offer them help. If you would like us to help with any kind of rituals or ceremonies, if you need any supplies, anything like that. Most of the time, if they're going to do something ritually, they kind of do it themselves or with a spiritual leader or something. But we can, maybe supply them with, whatever supplies they may need, clean cloths or water or whatever. But just asking, always go to the source. I've gone to classes on, they went through every single, religious group and ethnic group, and this is what they do. And do I remember any of that? No, I don't. A few things stick in my brain just through the years, but not many. So always ask the parents first. Everybody's fear. What do I say? Oh, I'm so afraid of saying the wrong thing. I don't want to hurt them. Everyone has these fears. We all want to think, and especially healthcare people, how can I fix this? We can fix just about anything. We could have put a Band-Aid on just about anything. But this isn't something we can fix with our words. We can certainly help to make it better or not make it worse. But, we're not going to absolutely be able to fix this by the time the patient is discharged. And, crying makes me uncomfortable. If somebody cries, I'm going to cry. Crying is okay. I know many of us were taught, I was taught in the Stone Age when I went to nursing school, that, don't ever show your emotions in front of a patient. Don't get too involved and so on and so on. I have a rule on crying, personally. It's just a personal rule. You are allowed to cry in front of a patient. I have had several parents say, oh my gosh, you could tell the nurses loved my baby so much they were even crying. Or I just loved that the nurse sat with me and cried. It's okay to cry in front of someone. However, my line is, if you feel like you're going to get into that ugly, unbreakable cry, which we all know we have inside of us, if you're going to go into that big, ugly cry that you're not going to be able to get out of it quickly, excuse yourself out of the room, maybe tag team someone else in to be with the family, and just go have that good cry in the bathroom or whatnot, splash some water on your face and go back in. My rule is they should never be consoling you. So you can never cry more than the family, but you can cry. That's okay. One thing we do really well is judge people, at least the people that I've worked with in the past. And myself too, we all judge a book by its cover, even though we say we don't. We have that initial unconscious bias about things. But everyone has a different reaction. And I'm sure those of you who've worked in the places where the initial news is given, whether it's doctor's offices, OB triages, labor and deliveries, whatever, when that initial diagnosis is given that there's no heartbeat, they have a barrage of reactions, and we just expect them to cry. We expect them to cry a certain amount. Like, it's funny because some people say, I don't think she's crying enough. I think she's crying too much. There is too much, not too much or too little. Everybody reacts differently to grief. I don't know that I've ever met two people that exactly grieve the same. Some people shut down and they just get very quiet and inward. Some people I was kind of raised not to cry in front of people. I've certainly outgrown that, and I do cry in front of people. Not a lot though. I can hold it together pretty well. Just from my, I can hear my mother in my head sort of thing. Some people will get angry, a lot of dads, some moms too. I had a mom yell at me one time, like, what the F happened? Dads can get angry. The frustration that they feel, their main job as a husband or a partner is to love and protect their partner. And now they see their partner as the most devastated they've ever seen them from something you said. They just get angry and frustrated, and it builds up and it just comes out. And a lot of times it comes out verbally. Sometimes it comes out physically. We've actually had dads punch a hole in the wall in the hospital. I kind of think we should have a punching bag in our OB triage unit, but someday I'll get that before I leave. But don't judge them from that, because I can tell you that dad that punched a hole in the wall, him and his wife are going to apologize the rest of their hospital stay. That's so unlike him. I don't know why he did that. I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. So don't say, oh, watch, this dad's really violent. He punched a hole in the wall. And we all tend to do that. We give report all along the way and give, things about, oh, I think this mom is, not doing this right, or she's doing this right. Just try not to judge. Just go along with whatever they have and support them no matter what their needs are. So, going into talking to people, I was always willing to do it. And people say, can you go talk to this mommy? And sure. And I'd get to the door and I would, I'd get butterflies in my stomach. And I had the same feeling, like, please, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So what I do is I just kind of stop, breathe, and center. So you stop before you go in. We're all going to stop before we go in a room, and we're going to gel our hands. I take a deep breath and just kind of center myself and remind myself I'm going to leave everything that I have to do, because we all have a list in our head. After this, I got to go do this, and then I got to talk to this person. Then I got to leave that all out in the hallway and concentrate on this family. I'm going to give my full attention to this family for however long I'm in here. If I'm in here for 5 minutes, I'm in here for an hour and 5 minutes. I'm going to try to give them my full undivided attention and see how I can help them. When you go in, it's kind of less talking, more listening. Obviously, you're going to give certain instructions. You have to give certain instructions on, beginning of labor, or some of the things, the options available, after the baby's born and what we can do. And, but, try to do more listening and see if, they're willing to talk. And sometimes you need to give them a few moments of silence before they kind of open up and talk. So, I always say less talking, more listening. Know your communication comfort level. Now, I can go in and sit with the family for 2 or 3 hours, if they put up with me. A lot of people don't have that comfort level. They get very uncomfortable with people crying, or people, just being angry or whatever. Know your comfort level. You're not going to go sit in there for half an hour with somebody who's crying, and you can't do that. But you can go in and say, listen, I only have a few minutes. I have other things to do. I just wanted to come in here and see if there's anything you need or anything I can do for you. That's it. And just spend a few minutes with them. But go in. I've seen people avoid rooms. I've seen nurses, doctors, and others avoid the room because they're afraid of going in. So please just go in and see them, and don't make them feel like they're a leper and nobody wants to come in and see them. And just remember, there's no Band-Aid. We all love a good Band-Aid, but there's no Band-Aid for this. So you want to watch your nonverbal communication techniques. Here's a whole little drawing of nonverbal techniques. Number one, you want to sit down. As nurses, we don't get to sit down a whole lot during our day. So we want to sit down and be at eye level with mom and her partner, or whoever's in the room. So I try to sit on the opposite side of the bed from wherever the partner or family is. That way I can look at mom, and I can also look at the partner or the family members. You want to make eye contact. Now, you're not completely staring at them the whole time, but as you're speaking, I kind of look around the room and speak to, each person as I'm talking, primarily mom or dad, or her partner. You want to watch your facial expressions. I have to watch this one because sometimes people say things and my face shows a lot. And I have to quick bite down on my tongue not to make an expression of, what? Did you just say that? Like some things really take you by surprise. So just watch your facial expressions on things that are said because you never know what's going to come out of people's mouths. Touch. We have to be careful with touch. Most people are okay with touch, but there are people who do not like to be touched no matter what. They're just very hypersensitive, and that's okay. So, as things are going on, I usually sit down towards the bottom of the bed. So if mom starts crying or something, I might put my hand on her knee or her shin, or her foot. And if she kind of jerks away when I do it, I just slowly move my hand over, very nonchalantly, and I don't touch her anymore. If, the whole conversation has gone through, and I've sat there with them for a while and kind of developed that relationship, before I leave, I usually say, is it okay if I give you a hug? And I always make sure I hug both partners, because everybody, forgets about the dad or the other partner. So you want to make sure, I usually hug everybody in the room because I'm a hugger, except during COVID. But I am, I love hugging. Positioning, like I said, right next to the mom. I usually go like down towards their feet just so I can get a better look at their face, sort of thing. And empty your hands. Now, we don't walk in with charts anymore, but you might be walking in with maybe something to draw her blood when you're done talking or whatever. Just put down, and it shows that I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to concentrate on you. Anything that you still kind of are carrying or in front of you is sort of a barrier to the conversation, which you wouldn't think, but they'll feel like, oh, she's got other things to do. So, intentionally put down whatever you have in your hands in front of them. And that shows them that you are willing to put things aside and speak with them. All right, what to say? Very short list. This is even a longer list than I usually would say. I've joked many times over the years with my support groups about writing a book. I said, oh, someday I'm going to write a book. My husband always says I should write a book. I said, if I ever write a book, I'm going to write 2 books. I'm going to write one on what to say, and I'm going to write one on what not to say. And one is going to be a piece of paper, and the other one's going to be War and Peace, because holy mackerel, the things people say to other people it still continues to amaze me. So, what to say, some of the safe things, some of them are safe and not so safe, but I'm sorry. Now, I've had people in the past in support groups say, if one more person says, I'm sorry, I'm going to kick somebody. I'm like, whoa, that's like my go-to. You got to give me something else that, you find somewhat helpful to give them. And they all feel like just saying, I'm sorry. And truthfully, if you've ever sat on the other side with a grieving person instead of, looking at them, everybody that comes in the room says, I'm sorry the same way. Everybody kind of tilts their head, they squint their eyes, and they say, so sorry. Everybody, it's incredible. So they kind of take that as pity. So I thought, oh, okay. So I usually say, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I'm so sorry this happened to you. A lot of times I say, I'm so sorry you have to meet me. Kind of like the military showing up at their door, even though they've usually gotten the news before I'm there. But, I am the kind of the angel of grief. So I kind of follow up, I'm sorry, with something. So I'm not just saying I'm sorry. And I try not to say it that way on purpose. There was a palliative care doctor at Children's Hospital who I just adored, hearing him speak. He always says, I never say I'm sorry. And I thought, what? What's this? This guy talks about death and grief all of the time. He said, I say I wish. I wish I didn't have to tell you this. I wish I had better news. I wish your baby, was doing better than this or whatnot. It does kind of soften it. I've tried it a few times, but it really is kind of a comfort level of being able to say I wish, I guess, because I'm so used to saying I'm sorry all my life. Just, I'm listening. I'm sitting here, do you want to talk? I'll listen. If not, would you like me to just sit with you? If you don't know what to say that. I don't know what to say. Many times I've said, oh, there's just no words for this. I have no words. The last one, obviously, you're not going to say to a patient, but this is for any grief adventure in general. I used to be the queen of going to funerals and, bringing a sympathy card and writing in the card, if you need anything, you call me, Ann Coyle, 856, blah, 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 blah. No one ever called me, surprisingly. Then I realized that grieving people don't make phone calls. So I thought, you got to be more proactive on this, and you got to kind of go towards them. So now I say to anyone that I obviously family and friends, not just any funeral I go to. But I'll say to them, listen, in a week or two, when everybody's kind of gone, I'm going to call you and we're going to do lunch. We can stay at your house. I'll bring, I don't know, whatever, Wawa hoagies, a pizza, whatever you want. Or if you feel up to it, we'll go out to lunch. But we're just going to have lunch and just sit and talk. And I basically just sit there and let them talk. And whatever they want to talk about. And I try to listen the whole time. And I try to listen without having advice to give them, which is something we often do. We're thinking in our head, what can I say, as soon as she takes a break in what she's saying. So just listen and sit with them. So what not to say, this is also an extremely abbreviated list. Never start any sentence to a grieving person with at least. Well, at least you can get pregnant. At least you have other children at home. At least maybe, and at least there might have been something wrong with the baby. At least minimizes. It even minimizes, at least she lived 95 years. It even minimizes that. Like, don't say at least. It just minimizes grief. So just put that out of your vocabulary. A lot of stuff. I tell my parents, they're going to throw a lot of God, a lot of angels. It was meant to be. You can have another baby. Maybe they can't. God needed an angel. God only gives you as much as you can handle. I've had that said to me a lot of times in my life, and sometimes I think God has a bad sense of humor in my life. He thinks I can handle much more than I can handle. But somehow he always gets me through it. Everything happens for a reason. My mother raised us on this pretty much. She would say this all the time. And so now it's funny because something, you hear over and over and over, you believe after a while. And I certainly never say it to any family now, but I rationalize reasons why things happen sometimes. So I rationalize why I have the job I have today as working in perinatal bereavement is because of all the losses I had in my life was sort of a training program. I know my rationalizations are a little crazy, but they get me through the day. So, everything happens for a reason. Ugh, they hate that one. We had a social worker many years ago who has said to more than one mom, the moms have told me that they would say the crack mom's baby is fine. And they were like, I didn't know whether she was going to bring me the crack baby or what was, I guess she's just trying to say, I don't understand why things happen either, but just that should have been left out of the conversation. She's in a better place. They'll tell you there's no better place than a mother's arms. You have an angel in heaven. They don't want it in heaven. They want it here. And I know how you feel. Oh, never, ever, ever say this. Now, if you've had the same exact loss, okay, maybe, and they'll probably accept it from you. They accept it from other parents, like in support group. They'll say, I know how you feel, and they'll take it. But from anyone else, they will not take that. And please, added to this, if you are a pet lover, God bless you. If you love pets, that's wonderful. I like pets. Most people love them more than I do. I love them at other people's houses. But never say, I know how you feel. My dog just died. Don't ever compare a baby to an animal. I'm sorry. You never grew that animal in your body. And, felt their movements and heard their heartbeat or saw their picture or whatever. Please never say that either. I know how you feel. A lot of times they'll strike out on that one and say something to you. Now, if you feel like, but I really felt this when I was grieving, I'll say to people, I can't imagine how you feel. I know when this happened to me, I felt terrible, or, I know when my husband died, how I felt. I can't imagine how you're feeling. So, let them know that you've been a grieving person and you understand grief somewhat, but you never exactly understand their grief. If parents have other children at home, probably one of the first questions they're going to ask is, what are we going to tell the kids? So this little picture here is just adorable. This is one of our families all of our families, the pictures I have on here of our families, we're more than glad to share their pictures. This is the grandmom holding the baby. The mother of the baby was young, and this is her younger sister. So the mother was like 18 or something, and this is her younger sister. I think she was about 9. And she had autism, and her sister said, will my sister be able to come in? She's autistic. And I said, I don't care. As long as someone's there to be with her and, give her a hug or whatever she needs, or take her out of the room if she needs it, she can come in and see the baby. And look how thrilled she is. And almost every sibling that's seen a baby is this thrilled because they only see a baby. They really don't see a baby that's that's cyanotic, or a baby that has purple lips or has a peeling on its face or something. They might ask you about those things, but they really just see their baby. It's amazing how kids handle this. Now, not every child, and I do tell that to parents. I usually tell them, give age-appropriate explanations. There's a good book, I believe it's put out by Texas Children's Hospital, called Out Came the Sun. And it's free for like 2 or 3 copies. And after that, they charge you, I don't know, $2 a copy or something. I send it to all my parents with children. It gives them age-appropriate and developmental appropriate explanations for death, loss, and grief. I think that's, important to give them along the way, because, you may have a 4-year-old and this is how you're going to explain it here, but then you have an 8-year-old and they think differently. So, explaining it in a way that maybe makes it more understandable at that age. If you have Child Life available in your hospital, please use them, utilize them. They're awesome working with kids, especially with grieving kids. Many of them are trained in working with grieving children. So they are a huge resource if your hospital happens to have that. There are a lot of books available. There's one children's book. If people have children, usually under the age of 5 or 6, I'll send them. It's called We Were Gonna Have a Baby, but We Had an Angel Instead. And they just absolutely, all the parents that have read that book absolutely adore that book for children. There's a book put out by Sesame Street on grief, just kind of on general grief, I believe, not just infant grief. But there's a lot of good children's books out there for kids. Should we let them come in? Like I said, most kids that I've run into react very well. I mean, they will hold the baby and they will, they make comments sometimes. We had a little boy, this baby was very purple and mottled, and had blue lips, like navy blue lips. And the dad really wouldn't want him to see the baby, and the mom really did. And of course, she ended up getting her way. And he came in and he looked at him and he held him and, oh, this is my baby brother. And he said, did he have chocolate? And he was about, I don't know, maybe 4 years old at the time. And he said, did he have chocolate? And his mom was like, why? And he said, he's got chocolate on his lips, and his purple lips he thought was chocolate. And she said, oh, I guess so. And she just let it go. And never, nothing was ever said about it again. We had another little guy that was sitting there, and everyone in the room held the baby. And then the mom said, you can take the baby, because she was getting nervous about having her son there and, maybe her losing it. And I was walking away with the baby, and he said, wait, what about me? And I turned around and I said, what about you, buddy? And he said, well, I've been practicing for weeks on how to hold a baby. Don't I get to hold the baby? And everybody looked at me like, what is she going to say? And I said, of course you do. And, I looked at the mom and kind of gave her a little nod, like it's going to be okay. And I said, you got to sit down and let's put a pillow here under your arm. And I set him all up, and he had the biggest, proudest grin on his face holding this baby. And thank God somebody snapped a picture of it. And his mom said, that's his absolute favorite picture. He has it at his bedside, him and his little brother. So, give kids a chance if you can. They certainly handle it better than we do. What parents may want. This couple here, this is baby Cooper. This was their first baby. He was, I think, 22 weeks. And they joyfully, and mom joyfully gave me permission to use his picture. So what they might want time alone or with their family. COVID has shown us otherwise, when we had to cut down on all of our visitation and whatnot. And at least we, at least our place, I don't know about every other hospital, at least we allowed one person to be in with them when they were in labor. And the first couple we had when we first shut down in 2020 was a nearly full-term loss. And I went in and I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you can't have your mom here or this or that. And they said to me, you know what? It's almost better that it's just the 3 of us. It's just, the 2 of us and our baby. And we get to grieve no matter how we want to grieve, without anybody telling us to calm down, stop crying, do this, do that, or worrying about everyone else in the room. Who ran out of the room? Is she okay? Is grandmom okay? And I thought, wow, I just don't ever think of all the dynamics going on around us when we have these large families that gather, at a loss. And most all of my families throughout COVID have said they're glad that it's just them, and they'll go face everybody else when they get home, but they were glad to just have that time with just the 3 of them. Very interesting. They want continuity of care. They'd like to have the same person. So if you have them one day in labor and delivery and they're there again, you may not, want to take that assignment again, because it is draining. But they would really love to, they do form a connection with you, especially they can form a connection with you in 10 minutes. 10, 15 minutes, I can talk to somebody and there's a connection. They're like, oh, Anne was wonderful. We want to see her again. We really liked her. And especially 12 hours. So if they see you for 8 or 10 or 12 hours, they would love to have you again a second day and not go through their whole story with somebody else. So they like continuity of care. They want encouragement through the labor process, like you would encourage anyone going through labor on pushing and all that kind of stuff. They're doing well and they're a good mom and they're doing well. All that kind of talk is okay. Inclusion of the siblings. They may or may not want inclusion of the siblings. Unlimited parenting time. Now this, definitely, I used to say to everyone, oh, of course they should be able to do whatever they want with the baby. And then I saw some babies that were stillborn, that their skin wasn't in great condition. And certainly we're not going to let parents with a baby with a lot of emaceration bathe their baby because they wouldn't want to do more damage. So if the baby's skin is intact and everything looks good, then, offer them to bathe or dress. We offer everyone to hold no matter what. Just about no matter what. There's been very little things we wouldn't let people see or hold for. But, trying to include them and make them feel like parents as much as you can, because they just feel like, that's all been stripped from them. Loss of one or more multiples. We didn't think for years. We would always take pictures of the baby that died. But it was several years ago. I was in the NICU and one twin died. And we were taking pictures of him and whatnot. The mom was holding him and whatnot. And after a while, she said, would I be able to get a picture of him next to his brother? And I looked and, I was like, oh. And I said, sure, yes. So we had the baby wrapped anyway. And we just laid him next to his brother in the isolette. Right next to him. You could see both of them and took some pictures. And, sometimes if they... they both look similar or whatever, some usually have difference in color or whatnot, but always make sure that you acknowledge, which baby is who. But it's, it's big to have them together. And this picture actually is from Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. And I believe the baby on the left is still alive and the baby on the right has passed. And they actually laid them like that and put their arms around each other. What a precious photograph. So, try to take some pictures, even if it's just mom holding both of them or dad holding both of them, at the same time. That's a great picture as well. And just kind of let them know that, they have a future of mixed emotions. Loss of one twin is not just, well, at least she's got that other one and that'll keep her going and whatnot. Every single thing that baby does, that living child does for the rest of his life, is going to be full of happiness and sadness for these parents. Think about it. The first steps, we should have 2 walking. The first day of school, we should have 2 going to school. First, everything is going to be mixed the rest of their lives. Even getting married, oh, geez, I wonder, if her sister would have gotten married or not. And, just everything. They learn to kind of deal with it on their own. And I usually have a little talk with them about that and just say, you're going to find your own way in this, of how to acknowledge the living child and remember the one that died. Some people on, special occasions, holidays, birthdays, whatnot, will light a candle somewhere in the house. And, to anyone who doesn't know, maybe even to a lot of the family, because maybe they've given them a lot of grief over stuff, maybe to just about everyone, they don't know that that's their Ariel candle or their Justin candle or whatever. That represents their baby's light. So to everyone else, it's just a Yankee candle. But to them, every time they light that reminds them of their baby. And that, gives a physical presence of their baby being in the room. Some will get like a little candy heart or something and just stick it on the side of the birthday cake for the twin. And that's their twin kind of enjoying the birthday cake with them. Just little things like that, just, to remember them. Some people do them in a big way, but most families kind of shame them out of that after a while. Even like Christmas cards or birthday cards. A lot of my parents will send me Christmas cards with their other children on it or their rainbow babies or whatnot. Some will sign the baby that died, their name on there proudly, maybe just to me, and they don't do that to their family. Maybe they do. But after a while, will get a symbol. So it's either like a little stamper or one of those little punch things that you can get with shapes. And they'll have a heart or a star or a rainbow or not a rainbow, a footprint or something like that represents the other baby that died. And only the people in the know that. So I'm always, very honored to be in the know of those things. Know your resources around you. Know what the follow up is at your institution. I try to follow up parents for at least a year. Now it's not, I'm certainly not calling them every week or anything like that. I contact them a few times a year. I give them my information. They can contact me anytime. But just know, kind of let them know before they leave that they're going to be contacted by someone at your institution, hopefully for some sort of follow up. Give them a list of funeral homes. I made a list of funeral homes in our Tri-County areas for, their options for disposition. So, in the state of New Jersey, at least, over 20 weeks, the parents must do something themselves for disposition of their babies. They must cremate or bury. They have the option of doing it before 20 weeks, but they must do it after 20 weeks in New Jersey. So give them some ideas on funeral homes, because most young people have no idea about funeral homes. There's a wonderful organization, really pre-COVID and hopefully someday post-COVID, called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. It's an organization of volunteer photographers that will come to your hospital and take pictures of the baby and the family I believe it's over 20 weeks. During COVID, obviously, they weren't able to come into our hospital, so we do the best we can. And our nurses have really gotten better and more inventive in the pictures they've taken, which is awesome to see them embrace this over the years. So I tell the parents, if you have these pictures, you can then go on to the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep website, and you can download these pictures to them. You can send them electronically to them. I think there's a form on them to fill out, that they want this done. And send them the pictures, and they will retouch them. They retouch any skin emaceration or bruising or modeling. And also they do all of their pictures in black and white, which makes them look absolutely incredible. So, and they do, it's either 10 or 20 pictures, something like that, for free. And they'll send them back to the parents and they could print them out on their own. So a beautiful service, even if they're not able to be in the hospital. The Tears Foundation is a national organization as well. And you can print out their application form from their website, tearsfoundation.org. They help parents pay for funeral costs, and they say they will pay up to $500 for funeral costs. Know if there's any support groups in your area or support groups that you know of. Our support group has gone online. As soon as the pandemic hit in 2020 and we shut everything down, we couldn't gather in person anymore. So I was very hesitant, I have to say, probably because of my age, about doing it online. But it has worked out phenomenally. I've had great attendance for the last, year and a half or 2 years. So I truly think we may end up staying virtual after this. We might go hybrid, but we'll still have some virtual component, because it's so much easier to just sit in your bed in your pajamas and talk to me than it is to get showered, at least get dressed, get in your car, drive wherever, go into a building full of strangers, not knowing what to expect, then maybe being too embarrassed to leave because it's too much for you or whatever. And here you can literally zoom in and zoom out. And you don't have to talk if you don't want to, and you can talk if you want to. So it's really seems to work for just about everyone. We do have our own angel garden at Virtua at our Voorhees location, and anyone in the area, I say in the state of New Jersey, is welcome, at least in South Jersey, to have a plaque on the wall if they would like. We have a information pamphlet. They pay for the plaque, and we have a memorial service once a year on the first Sunday of October that everyone who has a plaque on the wall is invited to. Make a list of online resources, look around and gather them up. If you need suggestions, contact me. I have like a 3 or 4 page list of online resources. Ask grieving parents, after, a year or two, what did you use? And they'll give you, my list has grown because of doing my support group and talking to these grieving parents. They have taught me more in the last 17 years than any book or course I've ever taken. So, you can get them from parents too. But like I said, I am more than willing to share them with you. In South Jersey and Philadelphia area, we have the Three Little Birds Pregnancy and Infant Loss Support. It's a wonderful organization started by a lost mom herself. And they have a whole, they call it nest of people and resources as well, and that they can provide for parents. They are willing to come to meet up with you and have you join them. They have events throughout the year for lost families. So that's another good support for families in, like I said, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So my favorite quote, absolutely, from Maya Angelou, and it's so true. People may not remember exactly what you did or what you said, but they will always, always, always remember how you made them feel. It's amazing how, like I said, you can form a bond in 10 to 15 minutes of talking to someone. I remember a mom who, I am full of stories, I apologize. I remember a mom who I went in to see, and when I went in there, she was screaming at someone on the phone, and she was angry. And I had heard that there was a funeral home that came and got her baby without her permission. And I was like, what? And here she talked to her sister, who she rarely spoke to, something about making arrangements. And the sister took it upon herself to make arrangements and called this funeral home. And the funeral home came to get the baby. And she wanted to see the baby. And they went down to get the baby for her to see. And the baby was gone. And she was just obviously freaking out. So they called the funeral home, which was, several miles away. And the funeral home brought the baby back. And thank God, shortly after I got there, the assistant manager came in and said, the baby's here in the hospital. And so I just went in and, when she got off the phone, I just kind of sat down, sheepishly sat down and, just listened, wait for her to stop her conversation. And, she hung up the phone and she said, who are you? And I said, oh my goodness. I said, I'm so sorry. I said, my name is Anne. I'm here to help you. And I just kind of explained who I was and what I did. And I'm so sorry you're going through this and whatnot. And then, as if there were timing from above, which happens to me all the time, the the assistant manager came in and said, your baby's in the hospital now. And I turned to her and I said, would you like to see her? And she said, can I? And I said, absolutely, I'll go get her for you. So I went and got the baby. I got a little angel gown that we had and a blanket we had, wrapped her all up. I brought her in, and some people might think I'm kind of a little kooky or whatever. I treat all babies the same, whether they're living or dead. They're all precious little beings, and I treat them all the same. I talk to them even though they're dead. So I was bringing her in, and I said, oh, here's your mommy. She's so excited to see you. I said, I'm going to give it to your mommy. And I just handed her over to her, and she just thought that was wonderful. And so, I sat there for, maybe 20, 30 minutes and spoke to her. And I had somewhere else to go. And I said to her, unfortunately, I have to leave now. And I said, but you can keep that baby with you as long as you need to. I said, the nurses here can take her back from you and take her to the, where she needs to be. I usually never say morgue to people because it freaks them out. And I said, and she said, no, I want you to take the baby. I said, no, I want you to spend more time if you'd like with her. And she said, oh no, I like the way you handled her. I really want you to take her away again. And I said, okay. So I did. And I thought, wow, just because I spoke to the baby when I walked in the room with her. So, they will never forget that when you treat them that way. So always treat everyone like they're your family. That's kind of my mantra in my nursing career. I treat everyone like I would want my family member to be treated. So there are some of my references. And if anyone has any questions, you can contact me by email or my phone on here on my cell phone. You can text me or email me questions about anything. If I don't know an answer, I'll find one for you. But I'm always willing to share my experiences and share my resources and things like that. I mean, we should all have the resources that are out there available to us. And, it's not about one hospital doing it better than another. We should all be doing a great job. So I'm willing to teach. I'm willing to go and speak somewhere when we're allowed to gather again. And if you ever need anything, I'm here. So thank you for listening, and I hope you watch some of my other videos. Bye-bye.